Glad to have you along here on the big show. Stonebridge Wealth Systems brings you the Retirement Compass radio show every single week. I'm Jackie Selby. I've got Zach Vancas, financial advisor. You have a title in the Lincoln office. And Jeff Gove, principal and chief bottle washer in the Kearney office.
Bottle washer?
How does that, chief bottle washer? Does that describe you?
Coffee maker.
Coffee maker? Oh, yeah.
Coffee machine. It's really,
Founding
really good.
father? How about that?
There you go.
Founding father, Jeff Gove. You're laughing.
I'm not
You're
that
laughing,
old.
Zach.
Made me sound old.
Well, I thought we could talk about some pre-Christmas items here on the show. In other words, let's get that retirement plan together. A lot of people want to retire in 2026. Let's talk about some ways to avoid sinking. One of the big traps is cashing out your retirement account. This one sounds simple, but this is a terrible trap. A lot of people fell into this when they panicked when the current president got elected, Jeff Gove. And during COVID, people were yanking money out of their retirement account.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and another thing that comes up a lot is, maybe you're approaching retirement, maybe you're 5 years out and have $100,000 left on the house. And people are thinking, well, I want to go into retirement with no debt, which I'm all for that. I think that's a great plan. But if the plan is I'm going to cash out $100,000 from my 401k to pay off the house, probably not a great idea, especially while you're working, because that's all going to be taxed as income. If your mortgage, let's say your mortgage rate's 2.5% or 3%, so you're getting rid of a debt that you're hardly paying any interest on, and you're going to pay tax at a much higher rate. You're going to put yourself in a higher tax bracket, most likely. If you're in the 12% tax bracket, you're definitely going to put yourself in the 22 at least. If you're in the 22, you might go to 24 to 32. It's you have to weigh the taxes. If you're not 59 and a half, you're also going to pay a penalty to take that money out. Now, that doesn't mean, we don't develop a plan to get the house paid off or to pay off whatever debt it is, because I think that is a good idea. But maybe we don't take it all out at once. So we look at your tax bracket and say, okay, you've got, $30,000 before you get out of the 12% tax bracket. So we could take out, some money. We could take out $30,000 or do a Roth conversion with $30,000 to maximize that 12% bracket and pay it down quicker, to apply that $30,000 minus taxes to the principal and probably help you achieve your goal. But a lot of times when you take those big lump sums, it's going to kill you on taxes. And that's why we developed the Retirement Compass, because we have to look at, all of those different planning aspects. We have to look at your income plan. If you took a big chunk out of your 401k, does that leave you with enough money to develop your income plan the way that it should be set up? So you don't have to go back to work down the road. Your investment plan, making sure your money's invested to help you achieve your goals. Tax plan is huge. Your two biggest expenses in retirement are going to be taxes and healthcare. So it would be silly to go into retirement without having a plan for those two things. And then the last thing is legacy planning,
which I love to talk about because that's such a big part of retirement planning, but people often overlook it. You're listening to Retirement Compass radio show with Stonebridge Wealth Systems, and we have a centralized phone number for you to call to get an appointment wherever it is you'd like to be seen, because they really span the entire state and all the way across the Midwest, 866-295-5146, and the United States, actually, 866-295-5146, Stonebridge Wealth Systems. This is something that I realize all the time, an over-reliance on tax-deferred vehicles. Now, since I've been working with you, Mr. Gove, and now Mr. Zach, the idea of just using 401ks, people think a 401k and an IRA are the same things, and they think that this is a retirement plan. And those are just places that your money is, right?
Yeah, so all a 401k or an IRA would refer to as just the type of account.
Type of account. Thank you very much.
And we'll have people ask us at times like, okay, if I do a Roth or a traditional IRA, well, which one's going to have better returns? It has nothing to do with the account type, but what you put in the account. The account's just the box, the taxability of the account.
Okay, it's just a chassis.
Yeah.
One thing that I think is really important, though, when you look at these different boxes that Zach is talking about is, again, the taxability of those. And, I meet with a lot of people that have saved well. And what we know is, when you get to 65, your spending habits are pretty well locked in. So if you think I'm going to spend all my money when I retire, you're probably not going to. You're going to live the same lifestyle that you did. If you think I'm a spender now, but when I retire, that's when I'm going to cut back. First of all, who wants to do that? You work so hard only to eat rice and beans when you retire.
Right.
No, thank you. But my point is your spending habits don't change. So see a lot of people that are living on Social Security alone, and typically if they can do that, they probably saved well because they were saving through retirement and living on, whatever that salary was. So, they come in, I really don't need this 401k, this IRA. I'm just going to let it grow. It's going to go to my kids. Well, the age is going to come, and we talk about this all the time, so bear with me. But when you get to a certain age, 73 or 75, if you're over those ages, you know what I'm talking about, where the government says you've deferred long enough. It's time to start paying taxes. So they're going to make you take money out of those accounts, whether you want to or not. One of my old neighbors, he was where I used to live. He was 40 years old at the time, had about $950,000 in his 401k. And he's like, well, I'm never going to need it. I've got a farm. He's got all this other income, producing assets. And he said, same thing. I'm never going to need it. He's 40 years old. He's got, call it $1 million in his 401k. What do you think that's going to be worth by the time he's 73 or 75 in his case? I mean, that $1 million is, double every 10 years.
Right.
It's going to be a lot of money.
Oh, right.
He's going to be paying a lot of tax. I mean, it's going to throw him in the highest tax bracket. And by the way, if he doesn't take it out, 25% penalty, and he still has to take it out. If he leaves it to his kids, they have to take it out within 10 years now. So if the government didn't get to put him in the highest tax bracket, they put him in a position where they can make sure and get the kids in the higher tax bracket.
Mm-hmm. So how do you build tax flexibility with that scenario that you're talking about, Jeff?
Doing Roth conversions, maximizing your tax bracket. So if we know you're going to be in the 22% tax bracket, let's maximize that 22% tax bracket, because when you take money out, depending on how far away you are from those ages, you're going to at least pay that and maybe more. When you look at national debt, I would argue that tax rates are probably going to go up. So develop a plan today to empty those accounts, those tax deferred accounts, as much as you can. And you have to be careful with that. So don't hear me saying go cash out those IRAs and 401ks, because there's could be consequences to doing that if you do too much, whether it's paying more for Medicare, paying more in tax, losing homestead exemption. There's a lot of things that could happen, so you have to be careful with that. But getting those accounts down, because the way they figure that is based on your December 31st value of the year prior. So, and then the government gives us a table, we divide it by whatever number the government gives us, and that's how much you have to take out. So if we can get that balance down and get that money into the Roth IRA, where it's going to grow tax-free for the rest of your life. The two best types of money, free money, right? So you're putting money in your 401k, your employer's matching. Free money is the best kind. The next best is tax-free. So we want to fill up that tax-free bucket.
Sure. And a call to Stonebridge would really set you in the right direction to talk about these tax planning, matters and how much it matters. To do your tax planning, 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146. And Zach, do you think that poor tax planning could really sink people out of a big chunk of their money? And how do we know unless we know what they start with? But talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, failing to plan for taxes is something that we often see. A lot of people like to come into our office and they're focused primarily, they think I'm coming to see a financial advisor. So we need to talk about investments, right? It's everything is revolving around investments. Am I buying Coke or Pepsi? It's questions like that. It's not, and we end up driving that conversation more toward taxes. And even when we do our review meetings with existing clients, I would say 80% of that review oftentimes is revolving around tax planning. And the reason for that is those are factors, A, you can change, and B, they have massive effects on you as time comes. Like Jeff said, having all of that money in the IRA or 401k, tax-deferred accounts, means one day RMDs are going to kick in. And let's say, like the example he gave of, you got somebody who isn't spending much out of their tax-deferred account and it's just continuing to grow and grow and grow, RMDs kick in. Okay, well, A, there's a tax burden in and of itself, just the income. You got to pay taxes on that income. Okay. Well, that income can push your Social Security into taxability. Okay. Well, that's something we got to worry about. Like Jeff mentioned, you can lose homestead exemption. That's something we got to worry about. Push capital gains into taxability. That's something we got to worry about.
Tax. I'm hearing you say taxability.
That
Right.
money that comes out as an RMD and you think, I have nothing to do with this. I'm just going to go put it in my bank account or buy a CD with it. Guess what happens when that CD gives you interest? You pay taxes on the interest. It becomes this cascading snowball. And none of this has even mentioned the fact that I would argue, along with Jeff, taxes, based on the way the debt's looking right now, and then David Walker, former U.S. Comptroller General of the U.S. government, he thinks the same thing, that taxes are likely to go up in the future. So you're looking at all these problems if tax rates stay the same, if tax rates continue to go up, because we're looking at record debt, highest debt to GDP ratio since World War II, and people think taxes are high now. Actually, we're sitting at about the third lowest tax rate in U.S. history. So the precedent is there for higher taxes on all of these cascading problems that we've been talking about.
Very good. Here's the phone number to reach out to Stonebridge, 866-295-5146. Get this done. 2026 is upon us. 866-295-5146.
Is your retirement being eaten up by financial termites like hidden fees, inflation, and avoidable taxes? Call today for a complimentary financial review so we can help you root out these retirement killers.
We talked about the planning missteps that could quietly chip away at your retirement. Welcome back, everyone, to Retirement Compass Radio Show with Stonebridge Wealth Systems. I have Zach in the Lincoln office, and I have Jeff Gove in the Kearney office. And it looks like we have a premarital human being among us. Premarital, that doesn't sound quite right, does it, Zach?
I didn't know where you were going with that, but okay, I understand now.
We'll put that on your business card, Zach.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Premarital advisor.
Yeah, I have actually, probably a month or two ago, I had a couple, they weren't married, they were together for a long time, fighting at the conference room table, dragging me into it. I'm like, look, okay, I have a financial, I'm a financial advisor, like a licensed financial advisor, a licensed insurance agent. I am not a licensed marriage counselor. I'm not weighing in. If you want to know what spousal benefits Social Security has, we can go there. But as for this other stuff, no. Premarital advisor I don't know.
You better get a whistle and a striped shirt so that you can move into that role.
Nope, not doing it.
Listen, I just thought we should tell the audience that you're getting married in April.
Yep, I am.
And what is your fiance's name, please?
Addie. Her name is Addie.
Oh, cute. Zach and Addie.
Yep.
That's sweet.
We tried for the wedding invitation. I wanted to do like an A to Z with a little arrow and like a rip off the Amazon logo, and I got shot down on that. Oh, I thought it was a great idea.
I do too. So, what would the kids' names be? Are you going to start with B and Y?
I don't know. I mean,
through.
Yeah, I don't know yet. She's kind of sad that her last name used to start with a B, now it's a V, so she goes to the back of the line, if we're lining up in alphabetical order. So maybe we'll have to give the kids, early alphabet names.
Okay, you heard it.
Take her name.
No.
What is her maiden name?
Bardell.
Cute. Well, congratulations to you two.
Thank you.
Yes, it's going to be fun to follow that.
Yep.
And to see what you look like afterwards. All right. Just teasing. I don't know where I'm going with all of it. Jeff, save me.
Yeah, well, Addie makes wonderful cookies, so I don't know.
she's
if
the
that's where
cookie
you're going
maker
with
for
that.
Stonebridge Well Systems.
That is
She-
correct,
yeah.
yes.
Oh.
Soon to be the Kearney office as well, I hear.
You hear correctly.
Terrific. That's terrific news. I love hearing that. If Noctegal would stop eating all the cookies.
That's right.
That was actually what delayed Kearney until now.
Well, yeah, Scott said he would go to Lincoln and pick these cookies up.
Oh, right.
That's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
He's going to come back with an empty box.
Or Addie would make 5 dozen just so you could net 3.
Yeah.
It's like withholding from your tax-deferred accounts. Bringing it full circle.
It's the tax that has to be paid.
It's,
Yep.
it's the cookie tax with Stonebridge. Oh, golly. Well, in the first segment here, we were talking about the things that could chip away. And I know in retirement, the stakes are pretty high, right? You want to be able to help your future self by providing enough for your future self or your future selves. But I still want to hit a couple of these other things. Putting all your eggs in one basket. So talk to me about diversification, what people perceive. Now, I'm going to come right to you, Zach, because you were talking about how people, when they think retirement planning, they think investments, right?
Yep.
So tell me how a retirement plan that is diversified is more beneficial than just your 401k IRA.
Yeah. Yeah, so diversification is important. And here I was earlier saying, we got to talk about a whole bunch of stuff other than investments. But investments are still important. It is the growth engine of your retirement. So
Growth engine, got it.
Growth engine, yep. While diversification is important in investments, and when we say that, we refer to, of course, not having your entire net worth in one stock, for example. I met with somebody here recently who had a very, very large portion of their net worth in UPS stock. And they had worked there for decades and decades. They loved it. And the argument was, hey, it pays a dividend and it's probably not going anywhere. And yeah, true. But there's a lot betting on just one thing, right? Like we've seen in the media what one tweet can do to a company's stock. We can see
yes.
what an announcement of tariffs will do to the entire stock market for a couple of months, right? It's very reactionary. And so having all of your eggs in one basket from an investment standpoint is not great. On top of that, you want to diversify beyond that and just, large cap companies, mid cap companies, small cap companies, international, United States, all of that baked in as well. Again, a good diversified portfolio. You don't want all your eggs in one basket, along with different asset types. So,
All right.
So far we've just been talking about equities. But what about maybe looking at bonds, fixed income instruments, things that, if one thing zigs, hopefully the other thing zags.
My gosh, I hope so. That's what people used to think about bonds, but how are they doing?
Well, traditionally, bonds were the alternative, right? Stocks go up, bonds go down, stocks go down, bonds go up. You're good 60-40 portfolio. You're looking at a perfectly diversified, it will weather all storms. Recently, that hasn't necessarily been the case. We haven't seen that. 2022, if I remember correctly, stocks were down 18%, bonds were down like 15%. That's a lot of zigging or zagging, I guess we'll pick one direction. They didn't have the hedge that people thought they did. And there's other fixed income instruments, things like structured notes or something we use here, and we can get into more detail on that, if you come in and meet with us. But looking at just more fixed income instruments or having money that's principal protected, that's where you look at things like maybe an annuity type, a fixed indexed annuity where, you have a portion of your money that's principal protected. So in times of up market, you've got a majority of your net worth in assets that are appreciating. In down markets, you've got this piece over here that hasn't lost anything, and that could become your hedge or the thing you're drawing on income while you wait for the rest of your investments to go back up.
Very good, very good. I want to direct you to the phone number or a couple of websites. We got a couple of cool new landing pages for Stonebridge. First of all, should you like to sit down with a member of the experienced team, use this number, 866-295-5146, and talk about what's going to be coming up for you and your family. You want to talk about your equities? You want to talk about your eggs in your baskets and how to diversify these things? Please call 866-295-5146. And Mr. Gove, we have a few new landing pages. We have a couple little quizzes set up, don't we, for those who are listening and
Yeah, we do.
and want to get involved in contacting you or to see how their, let's say, their Social Security is going to look. or legacy plan or any of these things.
Yeah, and we've talked a lot about taxes
Mm-hmm.
today, and we still have that stonebridgetaxbill.com.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely go there. It's really fast. I mean, you just enter in some information, and it's going to tell you what your
good.
based on what you have in the retirement accounts, what your tax bill looks like over the rest of your life. It can be alarming.
And then we also have a text code for your Social Security. I want to talk about your Social Security here. You could text Social Security to this phone number, 308-270-4635. I'll slow down. 308-270-4635. Or you can get your Social Security report to see if you are ready, see what your Social Security readiness is. And that's Social Security Report, right? .com?
Yeah. Yeah.
.net?
And just one piece of clarification. So when we were building out that text code,
Yes.
if you text Social Security to that number,
Yeah.
the 308-270-4635, it's going to send you a Social Security report. Now, when we were testing it, we were building it, I text my mom and I said, Mom, I need you to text Social Security, and I put it in parentheses or in
Quotations.
quotes. Yeah.
Yes.
To text Social Security to this number. Well, she texted her first she texted me back and said, Jeff, is this you? I said, yes.
Oh, golly.
She texted her Social Security number to that number. We are not asking you for your Social Security number. Text the words Social Security to that number, and you will get a report back to you. Sorry, Mom, if you're listening.
Oh, these things, I'm glad you spelled that out, because these things could be a little confusing. So text the words Social Security to 308-270-4635, right? 308-270-4635.
Yes.
Golly. Now, clinging on to old strategies can get us into a lot of trouble. 20 years ago, people were thinking that if they had $1 million in that 401k or /IRA, then they could withdraw 4% of that, and my money's going to last forever. Well, that's one of those old rules, Mr. Gove. We got to be careful of those.
Yeah, and for a lot of people, if you're investing in a 60-40 portfolio, is that risk you want to take? Because there's always a chance, if the market goes down, like Zach said a couple of years ago, bonds that are your safe investments were down double digits, because when interest rates went up, the value of those bonds went down. Now, when interest rates go down, the bond values will go up. But, so there wasn't the protection that you thought you had. And on top of that, if you were taking out 4%, so now you're down like 19% just on the fixed income side. So you got to earn that back, and it's going to be hard to earn that much back on something that's a fixed income asset. So there are a lot of different things that you can do, but what a lot of people like is when we talk about the bucket theory here on the show, where we have our safety bucket.
Mm-hmm.
So that's your emergency fund. The furnace goes out, you need tires for your car, something like that. That's that bucket. You have money in there that you can access easily. Then we have the income bucket. The income bucket is providing the income that you need. So your Social Security is in there. If you have a pension, that's in there. If there's a shortfall, so let's say you need $5,000 a month and you add everything up and you get $3,000 a month, we're going to put enough money in that bucket to give you an additional $2,000 a month net. So then it doesn't matter what the stock market does. If the market goes down, that $2,000 a month is still coming in.
I like
so
that
we're
idea.
Ensuring your income essentially is what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have the growth bucket. If we have these three buckets set up, we can invest that third one with confidence, because it doesn't matter. We're not drawing on that if the market goes down. That gives us the ability to stay invested. And maybe if something goes down and you're 60-40, maybe if the market was down 20%, maybe we shift to an 80-20 and we make more money. We buy equities when they're low, so that growth bucket really grows. So,
Great.
If you have it set up that way, it's going to help you sleep good at night. You don't have to worry about your income. You don't have to worry about taking money out of the stock market when it's down.
Mm-hmm. Let's have confidence. Use this number, 866-295-5146. All these things are super important and pertinent to your impending retirement. I know that's why you're listening to the show, unless you just want to hear how it's going every week. But if you finally want to take some action, 866-295-5146.
As Americans, we strive for better. From a better house to a better career to a better life for our children and grandchildren. Better has become the American way. When it comes to your retirement, what does better mean to you? Does it mean more income, a flexible lifestyle, better solutions? A better retirement begins with a financial plan. To get your complimentary written financial plan, call the number you see here. You only retire once. This is your opportunity to plan for better.
Retirement Compass radio show, compliments of Stonebridge Wealth Systems. And I have a representative from the Kearney office, Jeff Gove, in one corner. And in the other corner, I have Zach Vancas in the Lincoln office. Now, you have to be in there with Tim Kulhanek all the time?
Unfortunately,
Zach?
yeah.
I mean, how does a person work that under those conditions?
It's a dichotomy between never knowing where he is because he's so busy, and then when you do know where he is, wishing he was busy.
I see. Really? That's very
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
I will not tell him you said so, but I do
No,
understand
but this will be allegedly live on the radio, so
Yes, this is,
he'll probably find out.
Oh, I guess he will. And in the podcast, we do post a podcast, in case you didn't know that. It's called The Retirement Compass, and you can find it not only on the Stonebridge landing page, but anywhere that you get your podcasts. All right?
And you can watch it on YouTube.
And
if you want to see
YouTube.
Zach's smiling face today.
Yay.
And his fancy jacket.
Fancy jacket, beard,
Looking sharp.
pocket square.
I appreciate it.
You guys had the ribbon cutting.
We did, yes. That's why I'm a little more dressed up than usual today.
Congratulations.
It was good. Chamber of Commerce was here. It was not warm.
Did you get to do the big scissors?
No, but I kind of awkwardly stood next to Tim and kind of touched the scissors at one point, yeah.
Good.
But he did the actual cutting. But they were obscenely large scissors. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it was eventful. A decent turnout, surprisingly, given the weather. Everyone stood out there, and Tim promised to keep the speech brief because he was freezing. And I think he did a good job of achieving that
Just
briefness.
15, 20 minutes.
10,
Did
yeah.
the workshop.
Yeah.
Did a
Not quite that
120-minute
long.
workshop out there in the freezing cold.
Yeah, not quite. No, not quite. We moved inside fairly quickly after
Did
the
you have
ceremony.
cookies?
We did. We had cookies. Yeah, we have cookies with our little logo printed on them. Even
Isn't
Yeah.
that fun?
they were fun.
Save me a Stonebridge cookie, please. I'm
We'll do
hoping
our
that you
best
will.
until Scott Noctigal finds them.
That's right, gosh darn it. Even if it's in the freezer, like, the top of the wedding cake and everything is in the freezer, you're tempted all year long every time you open the freezer. Can't we eat that? Can't we eat that? How about longevity risk? Let's talk about that. This is a retirement planning program with Stonebridge Wealth Systems. Oh boy, longevity. How do you perceive about the end of your life, your years? That must be a weird thing when clients come in and you look at how long did your parents live? How long did your grandparents live? And then you have some actuary tables or something, right? The insurance company provides, or this, that, and the other.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, we can definitely look at that stuff. But at the end of the day, I think it's important to plan that you're going to live a long life because you
Okay.
could. If we looked at, based on your health, the actuaries say, you're going to live to 75 and we plan to 75 and you live to 95, that could be a major problem. Mm-hmm. It's kind of strange that, we talk about longevity as a risk, but it really is a risk because you're going to need a lot more resources if you live 20 years longer, obviously. So you have to have a plan for that. So, guys that come in and tell me, I'm going to live till 70, or I'm not going to a nursing home because I got a gun and a bullet and I'm not going to go. Well, you're not going to be the one making that decision. It's
Unless
going
you
to
do it
be-
now, right?
Yeah, don't do it, first off.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be your kids probably that are making the decision that, dad's not safe to be home alone. We found him wandering down the gravel road again. It's probably time to put him somewhere where somebody can keep an eye on him. So, yeah, I mean, we want to plan that you're going to live a long life, bottom line, because you could. And we look at, does your assets last as long as you do?
Well, how are we going to pay for it? This is a discussion that you can have with the guys and gals at Stonebridge, 866-295-5146. But I agree, it's very odd to be considering this. 866-295-5146, unless over, the holiday period here you see aunts and uncles and grandparents and so forth, and there's a discussion afoot at the turkey table because so-and-so needs to be getting some extra help. And how are we going to pay for it? And boy, I'm glad we bought that policy, or whatever the case may be. But it's often your eyes witnessing what's going on with that person who is in need of help with either a chronic illness or an age-related illness. So how are you going to pay for it? I mean, do you have any relatables there, Mr. Gove, on the subject of just how to bring that home? That concept home?
Yeah, it's a hard subject because, who wants to talk about that? It's not fun to talk about. It's not the family vacation.
It's odd, too.
Yeah. But it's a reality.
Yeah.
And, it's something that we cover when we go through the retirement compass.
Okay.
If you were to need assistance, how do we pay for it? Because it's very expensive. I met with a gal here in our Kearney office, and she put it really well. She was a retired nurse, and they have long-term care. It's probably not quite enough. It would pay like $3,500 a month per person. But I said, for some of the places that, trying to put it nicely, maybe you wouldn't choose to go to if you had a choice. She said, you mean like the 1-star? I said, yeah, that's a good way to put it. That's fair. Those are $13,000 a month. So that is very, very expensive. So, that can eat up your nest egg in a hurry. So definitely something to plan for. And that doesn't mean you need to buy insurance that's going to pay $13,000 a month. We want to pass on some of that risk to the insurance company, but we don't have to pass on all of it. But,
Okay.
I can always tell when something has gone wrong. When we go through the retirement compass, we say, this is what you should do. And they say, well, I'm going to think about it. And then we get a phone call, and my brother, Jeremy, here in our Kearney office, just received one of these calls, and we're ready to buy long-term care insurance. The first thing that comes to mind is what happened. And in this case, the wife just had a stroke. So the long-term care insurance is off the table now, because with long-term care, unlike some of your health insurance, you can't buy insurance on the house once it's on fire, right? Once the house is on fire, you're on your own. Once there's a healthcare issue, like a stroke, where you could need help, that type of insurance is off the table now. So we don't want people to be that couple or that individual where we're going to wait until something happens and then I'm ready to buy it, or to implement a plan for my care. Get it done before something happens. Otherwise, you're going to be on your own, and it is very, very expensive.
Thank you for saying that. And I appreciate that example that you're talking about, and I just feel that pain. Being the daughter in the family, myself, there's my sister and I, and it's so exceedingly painful if you don't have a plan, if it hasn't been discussed, and then somebody, a member of the family, has to take care of the one who's ill, and then you might have to leave your job. And this could affect your Social Security, your Medicare, all these things down the road. And there are millions and millions and millions of unpaid caretakers in the United States right now. It's a really high number. And it usually falls to the daughters or the oldest daughter in the family, just statistically speaking. So it's super painful to have to think about, how am I going to manage mom or dad or an uncle or a grandparent who is not aware of what's going on with their situation. Maybe they have memory loss or whatever, or they have something physical. It's just super painful. So I hope that if you're listening to this, you can relate to what I'm saying, and that you'll give the fellas a call and talk to them about what could be possible, the art of the possible with this. And you think, well, I'm not a rich person. We're not a rich family. How can we possibly wrangle this? But I think, Jeff, what you're talking about is using some leverage through the insurance company, right?
Well, and Jackie, a lot of times it's, we're all familiar with the traditional long-term care where I don't want to buy insurance to pay for a place I don't want to go, because I don't think I'm going to go there. Where long-term care, you pay a premium. The premium's going to go up every year. If you don't use it, you lose it. So Zach, do you want to talk about the other options? Because there are other options available to you.
Good.
Yeah, there's for sure other options available. Like Jeff said, the problem with long-term care that we've seen with a lot of clients coming in is, they started paying their premiums however long ago, and they weren't bad. And then they trickled up, and then they trickled up, and then they trickled up. And then eventually, by the time you hit, your late 70s, early 80s, they became unaffordable and you had to drop the insurance. Statistically, when you're possibly going to start wanting it. So,
but that's a traditional long-term care policy.
That's traditional long-term care, yes. So what we typically look at with clients is either a hybrid long-term care life insurance policy or a hybrid like annuity long-term care policy. The way those work, the life insurance would be you would take out a life insurance policy till you're, age 120, right? You're not going to outlive it. And it would provide you with a death benefit. So, okay, you put X dollars in, and then when you pass away, your kids get whatever. It's life insurance, right? We know how it works. However, with some of these policies, the way they work is if you, for example, fail to meet 2 out of the 6 activities of daily living, you can turn on a monthly income for a period of time, say, $5,000 a month for 5 years. Again, that number's, of course,
depends.
Configurable, yeah.
Sure.
But
configurable.
For example, $5,000 a month for 5 years. And all you have to do is have a doctor certify, hey, I have failed to meet 2 of the 6 activities of daily living. The life insurance company will send you that monthly income.
Beautiful.
That is basically going to be you living on your death benefit.
Okay.
The death benefit is there in the event that let's say you pass away peacefully in your sleep, never having needed long-term care. You didn't pay for something you hope you never needed. There was at least still a benefit that went to the next generation.
Okay, now this is a discussion that should make your phone ring off the hook. It honestly should. If you've ever witnessed somebody who's entering into this stage of life and the suffering alone, in addition to maybe a financial hardship, anyway, 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146, Retirement Compass Radio Show with Stonebridge. We'll be right back.
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. After nearly a lifetime on the job, you should be rewarded for all the time you spent working. Whether that's crossing off items on your bucket list, learning a new passion, or rekindling the love of an old one. After all, life isn't over when you stop working. It's the start of an all-new chapter. The one where you're the writer and you get to choose how your story will go. A way to achieve that is by having a clear financial plan to sustain your golden years. The biggest fear most retirees have is if they'll have enough money to maintain the lifestyle they've always enjoyed. Having a plan to help protect you against the curveballs life often throws will help to maintain your lifestyle. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
This week's scenarios tackle some long-term care, as we discussed, a legacy plan, and when are the kids coming back home with their laundry? Welcome back to the show, Retirement Compass Radio Show with Stonebridge Wealth Systems. Stonebridge Wealth Systems all the way across the state and the beautiful Midwest. And really, you have clients all over the United States. I want to make that clear. So if you are a Nebraska native and you buy a home somewhere else, boy, you guys are really good at helping people wherever they are. And internationally, I don't know the answer to that. I'm making stuff up now, Jeff.
You are kind of making stuff up.
Okay. 866-295-5146 is how you reach Stonebridge, 866-295-5146. And we have Zach, too. He's pretty new to the show. He's in the Lincoln office, Zach Vancas, financial advisor. I wrote that down. Why did I write that down? I mean, that's kind of obvious, isn't it?
Marital
important
advisor.
No, do not write that down. I'm not a marital advisor.
Oh, golly.
I could try, and I don't know. My measurables on that for success would not be great.
Oh, gosh. All right, we have some folks, 68, feeling great, but their sibling just moved into assisted living, costing about $6,500 a month. And now they're wondering if they've totally overlooked this whole long-term care policy thing in their own plan. So at what age should someone seriously consider this type of mental focus or taking action? Is there a certain age?
I guess.
Oh,
I'll take this
sorry,
one.
Zach.
Someone, me. I guess I'm in charge. Jeff's just
Yeah,
kind of
go
looking at
for
me. Yeah. Is there a specific age? Not necessarily. At 68, I'm not super worried yet. When it comes to the hybrid life insurance, long-term care that I talked about previously, yes, it's life insurance, so it's subject to underwriting. So obviously, the younger you are, the better health you're in, the better premiums we're going to be looking at on that.
Okay.
But of course, there's alternatives to that in that you could look in doing there may be an income annuity with a long-term care rider on it. That's an option. Obviously, suitability and underwriting on that's a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
But on the same hand, I wouldn't necessarily recommend a 20-year-old go get a long-term care policy.
I see.
There's a balance. I mean, it definitely depends on the
Obviously, yeah.
situation.
But on the other hand, 68 is not too late.
No, I wouldn't think so. I mean, again, there's so much to look at. I don't think 68 is too late. Obviously, at this point, you've hopefully amassed a decent amount of savings where we have different funding options with it as well, which is another consideration.
Right. So at that age, maybe an asset-based thing as opposed to somebody who's 55 and maybe in better health. But it just depends, right?
Yeah, it's so hard. There's so many different ways you can look at it. There's so many different ways you can fund it. I mean, we've done 1035 transfers of whole life insurance cash value. We've done it out of IRAs to try and get tax advantages on it. We've done it out of just straight the bank account. I mean, there's a lot of flexibility. The younger you are, caveat, around retirement age, you've got enough money to really do something, but you're not getting to a point where underwriting becomes a problem. You have a lot of flexibility.
Okay. I'm very glad to hear that. Now, if this is ringing a bell in your brain, a light bulb has gone off, please call Stonebridge, 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146. All right, how about this one? They want to leave some money to the 3 adult children. 2 are financially stable and 1 still lives at home and can't hold a job. Oh, dear. Says there, it makes me giggle for some reason because that's so cliche, isn't it? Somebody's living in the basement. Mm-hmm. So anyways, if somebody's in the situation, they're struggling how to figure out what's fair. Mr. Gove, how do you help retirees balance this leaving a legacy without rewarding poor behavior?
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as deciding what's fair, I mean, that's kind of up to you,
Right.
But I think the thing to remember with that is you don't owe them anything, right? I mean, your money is your money. So, I mean, if you wanted to leave it all to a charity or spend it all, you have the ability to do that. Most people aren't going to do something like that. So if it comes down to, I want to leave it in thirds or whatever fair is to you, fair doesn't necessarily mean equal. There's things that you could do for that one child to protect them from themselves. Some things that you would do with an attorney where you would set up a trust where they can get money under certain circumstances, get so much a year. If a lump sum would not be helpful for them or they would blow through it, then, like I said, you can protect them from themselves. The other things that come up are, addictions. If they have an addiction, leaving them a pile of money may not be a great idea.
Right.
If they're special needs, there's a lot of different estate planning things you can do to fix that. And that's why in the Retirement Compass process, why we have the legacy plan. When we look at these 5 areas of planning, if you leave one of those out, you're leaving yourself exposed. If you have an income plan, investment plan, legacy plan, healthcare plan, but you don't have a tax plan, even if everything works perfectly, you could be paying the IRS way more than you need to. And we're talking, a lot of times we're seeing hundreds of thousands of dollars by not having a tax plan. Same thing with legacy plan. If you leave the wrong type of assets to your kids, or that individual where that kid is going to blow the money, if you leave it to them directly, or you have one beneficiary and that beneficiary, I hear this, I've got 3 kids, I'm going to leave it all to my oldest because they're handling my affairs and they'll do the right thing.
Oh, yes, I've heard that too.
What in the world does that mean? What does the right thing mean? They don't have to give their siblings anything. And the other thing that you're doing is they have a gift limit that they can give every year. And then they also have a lifetime exemption. So if they had to give a large sum, that's going to count against their exemption for what they can leave their kids. So just do it right the first time. All of these plans work together. So make sure you get that full plan done.
Oh, golly. That's why it's one of the points on the retirement compass, because it's really important. 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146. And I would add that somebody with an addiction is a special needs child, don't you think?
Yeah.
I mean, we think of special needs as somebody maybe with a physical or mental handicap, but addiction certainly falls in that category, in my opinion.
And maybe a little bit worse, because depending on what the addiction is, that could literally kill them. If it was a bad drug addiction,
Or alcoholism or whatever.
Yeah.
Get a fast car and wreck it on I-70 or something. Yeah.
Could be bad.
It could be bad. All right. I know some of these things aren't your holiday feel-good subjects, but if you're meeting with your family, you could bring some of these things up and say, hey, I know a team. Stonebridge, 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146. That's a centralized number we have. Okay. How about an adult daughter and her 2 kids just moved in for a few months, and now it's going on a couple of years. Grocery bills are costing through the roof, and privacy is at a premium. How do you help people set those emotional and financial boundaries when the adult children move back home? And of course, it is important, right, to protect the assets. Zach, how do you counsel people? You better put on your counselor's cap.
And somehow we're back to being counselor.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a tough one for sure. And it's something that I definitely have had to weigh in on many times. Because it's whether it's them moving back in or just the general helping kids or grandkids question. And oftentimes when it comes to retirement planning, even if you've done a really good job planning, what are my expenses going to be? What are possible expenses going to be? Well, let's build in inflation. What about taxes? Let's build in tax rate increases. The thing a lot of people fail to remember is, what if the bank of mom and dad has to open back up at some point? And the analogy that I always like to give people is the same one that you hear anytime you get on an airplane, and that's, if the oxygen masks fall, put on yours before helping those around you. I get the desire to take care of your kids. And again, I don't have kids, so maybe Jeff has to double down on an opinion here because I'm not qualified to answer this question. Or arguably it makes me more qualified to answer it, in that you have to focus on your retirement, your cash flows, your savings first. I understand that it can be very tempting to try and take care of the kids. And I was working with a couple here recently, and they're in a situation, they were really worried about, well, we want to make sure the grandkid gets, a new pair of shoes or some toys or whatever. And again, I get that. But for them specifically, we're not talking about your ability to take care of the grandkid. We're talking about, in a couple of years, your ability to pay your mortgage. Like, if we keep up at this spending rate, you're out of money. It's over. And so avoiding situations like that, you've got to make sure if it fits in your budget, then by all means, right? Like Jeff said, when it came to the inheritance thing, it's your money. But make sure you've done the budget ahead of time to know, okay, this isn't going to put me in a worse off situation where instead of me having to help my kids, they have to help me.
Very good.
I think also there are clearly exceptions, but
yeah,
struggling is a good thing. I mean, that's when we grow the most as humans. So don't always bail your kids out. And that's a really hard thing. I've got 4 kids. I get it. I think about, if one of my 18-year-olds that are going off to college next year, if a year later they're like, Dad, I want to move back home, and this is what I'm thinking, we'll see if I can practice what I preach. But that is a hard thing. But going through struggles is a good thing. I mean, if you're bailing them out every time, they know they have this backstop here that I can do what I want with my money, because if I get in trouble, I've got the trust fund right here that will bail me out. But what happens when you're gone and that isn't there anymore? They've got to learn, and like I said, they will grow the most when they have to struggle and deal with some things.
Very good stuff. I'm going to give out the number, and then we're going to say goodbye and Merry Christmas. 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146. Call Stonebridge Well Systems or check out our YouTube channel if you'd like to. On YouTube, it's Stonebridge Well Systems. Please go on there and subscribe. Like they always say, like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's 866-295-5146. Merry Christmas, fellas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.